I love this ecosystem. Like, I can't imagine being anywhere else. I think if you look like truthfully per capita, nowhere has more promise.
Thank you so much for coming. It's incredible to have you as a guest. You've been in this ecosystem a long time, probably longer than I've been in, honestly. How has it changed since when you first came in to now?
Yeah, so I started in '06. I was working for Adam Edmonds. At the time, he was at started Silent Whistle, acquired Allegiance.
Yeah.
And I was the 14th employee over there. And I will tell you, we raised a $9 million round. And it was like the end of the world. It was the most exciting thing that you had seen in the
Well, in
valley.
'06, that's an enormous round.
It was enormous. And so it was like, that's probably the biggest thing. It's
still
like,
an enormous round. I don't want to discount
yeah,
it.
but it was really big. And we were in this situation where it was like, it was really hard to raise in Utah back then. You weren't getting money from the coasts.
Well, how many funds were even here?
So you had, Pelion was here.
Pelion?
Yep. V-Spring was still V-Spring, I believe, at that time.
Okay, so there wasn't a Mercado yet? Okay.
Mercado was '08, I think they started, 07, '08. So it was right at the tail end, I guess, of V-Spring is probably about that time. But there wasn't Kickstart. Kickstart started kind of a year or two after that. There wasn't, I mean, it was totally different.
Yeah,
so there weren't a ton of funds here, and the coastal funds weren't coming. So there wasn't that same interest that there is now. And so when Adam got that round together, it was just incredible. We were so excited, and it was a gigantic round at the time. And Silent Whistle Allegiance was a ton of fun. I mean, Adam acquired a couple of companies, sold off parts of the business, and we had blast.
Yeah.
So that's been a big shift. And then I would just say the talent in Utah has grown exponentially. Right? There wasn't a ton of tech. It was new.
Yeah.
And so now, we have phenomenal engineers. We've got better executive talent. Our entrepreneurs have done this more than once. Like we're seeing, so there people have examples.
What do you attribute all that to? What do you attribute the growth, the expanded talent, all of that? What do you attribute all that to?
I mean, truthfully, one of the things is we have strong native capital. So we have, for a market of our size, the funds that we have here, the strength of the funds here, it's kind of unmatched. We've got really good funds that like the market, that want to invest in the market and want to see it grow, and they've really invested. And so they have, as they've expanded, their reach, they've also brought a lot of talent back as companies are looking for a new CFO or looking for that president or COO. They've brought talent from other markets, and then it's just continued to grow. So I think it's that. I think it's that we have two great educational institutions that are, an hour apart. And they're both focused on this, and they both are, trying to grow this ecosystem. So you can't discount that either.
Sure.
Like to have two education.
I would say 4 with UVU and Utah State.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're all getting to be just so incredible, and they're affordable. Yeah. So, I mean, I know the University of Utah statistics. I don't know the others, but at this point, it's less than 50% Utah students.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
Yeah. So, I mean, to have all of that talent coming here, I think is a large part of it as well.
What did you do after Allegiant?
So, I actually went to Norway to study.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
Why? How? That's crazy. That's awesome.
I don't know. So I mean, they reached out. It's free. So
Who reached out? Norway?
The school at the Norges Handel School. It's like the Norwegian School of Business and Economics. Some of the professors are Nobel laureates. Like it's a definitely different program. So I was studying economics. So I was like, yeah, I'll go, and then I'm like, when I get back, I'll do my MBA. So I was like, I'll try it. So it was a ton of fun. But knowing, I was like, I'm not going to get, nobody cares about something from Norway, here in the States. It's like not going to be it's not going to get me the next job, right? But it was a really cool experience learning about things that I never would have learned about
That's
here.
So cool.
Yeah, it was incredible. And I mean, beautiful country. Like the most incredible country you've ever been to. It looks like, where I lived in Bergen, it looks like Park City if Park City was coastal.
Jeez.
Yeah. And I mean, just active and fun. And it's a wonderful place. So then I came back and actually went to Adobe. So I came back, I went to Adobe, and then went and got my MBA at Notre Dame, and then did a stint in banking. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get back to the startup world. So then I did a few more startups.
Yeah. What did you learn? Were all the startups in Utah?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So I spent some time at Quizzer, Bamboo HR, and Nav.
Quizzer.
Yeah, I know. The
Yes.
Quizzer.
Quizzer was fun. I remember that. The Josh Little and Owen Fuller and that crew.
And Bucky Flowers.
Bucky Flower.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, that team is awesome.
Yeah.
And then you did Nav.
Yep.
And Bamboo HR, which is an enormous company. It's just
Mm-hmm.
fantastically enormous. Like, it's so underrated because it doesn't raise the big rounds, like it doesn't need to.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a beautiful business. And
Yeah.
it has been from the very, very early days. And I think the founders there were really intentional about what they wanted to build. And intentional. I said intentional. But they were thoughtful. They thought about what they wanted to build. They were really good about hiring the right people, hiring the people that were right for their culture. And when people weren't right, they were able to make that decision and move on pretty quickly. And, it's a needed business, and they really did a great job. And again, you're talking about a repeat team that has done it before.
It's a sticky business, too, is what I love about that business. Yeah. It's just like, it's hard to get rid of your payroll and HR stuff. Like, once you're in, you're in.
Yeah.
It seems like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think you can outgrow them for sure, and that's what they would tell you, too. But it takes a lot to outgrow them, and most companies don't, right? So you get in, you get good service. You have, they employ a lot of like moms throughout the state, right? Working from home and customer support. And so I think that's good, too. And so it really, they've done a great job. And it's great for the state, too, to see kind of how you can progress over time without raising the large rounds too,
Yeah.
So,
it's like them and Entrada did it. And speaking of Adam Edmonds, I mean, they went forever without raising money, and then they just raised an enormous round. So, yeah, it's pretty incredible. So what brought you to JP Morgan, and what brought you back to banking?
Yeah. So I left the startup world, got into banking, was a tech banker here in Utah, ran the market, had a ton of fun. Like I ran finance for most of my career. That's what I spent most of my career doing. I'm a CPA, and I was running finance. And then I had one of my good friends was my former banker, and he was leaving, and I was like, hey, I want to try that. So I took a risk. I went into banking and had a blast for 5 years. And I just was kind of like, I don't want to go. I love startups, and I love this ecosystem. I don't think there's an ecosystem with more promise, especially per capita. And I was like, I want to stay in banking, but I want to try something different. I met the team at JP Morgan, and it's a great team. Just really strong people, really intelligent. The manager in the private bank that I work for spent a ton of time in New York, so she knows the bank really well. She's incredibly kind and that. And then she's built around her, some she inherited, but she's built this really good team around her. And so I met the team, and I was like, I'm all about team. So I was like, this is the team that I want to be a part of. And then I dug in on what the private bank offers, and it is the most holistic offering out there. And I'm not the person that wants to go sell something I don't believe in. But once I did the research and compared them, to others, I was like, this is incredible. This is an incredible offering that, people need to see.
Yeah, tell us about the offering. Even, I mean, not to like sell us, obviously, but sure, sell us. But just so like, I think a lot of entrepreneurs and people like probably don't think about this.
Yes.
The banking aspect of things, right? Yes. And so I think that'd be useful for you to kind of explain the offering and why they should be thinking about it.
Yeah, and truthfully, that's part of the reason I wanted to go into it. So you see a lot of founders that are planning for the exit of the business, but not their own personal exit. And so, whether you're the CEO, early employee, founder, you should be thinking about this, because the earlier you set yourself up for this exit, the more beneficial it can potentially be on the tax side and all of that. So you want to work with somebody who can help you plan out your future. Like, obviously, JP Morgan's a bank, so it's very nice because we can handle your banking too. You don't have to have another bank. Like, everything can be internal. But so we want banking and then planning. And it's like, okay, how can we get you to your goals taking the least amount of risk? Because you're already an entrepreneur, so you've got some risk in there. You have some shares of a private company, again, risky. And so let's help you meet your goals without taking on a ton more risk. If you want to take on more risk, like, it's definitely we match it to what you want, then we have those offerings too. The platform's incredible. I mean, you have access to many different things, whether it's fixed income or equities or alts. We can build you the portfolio you want, taking that amount of risk that makes sense. And then also on the lending side. So, thinking about your future and how you want to capitalize that future and build your personal balance sheet, not just your business balance sheet, is, what do I want debt wise? What am I comfortable with? What should I have in place? Do I need an insurance policy against some of the stuff that I have? And maybe that, that's the approach we take. So, we can also do like the standard mortgages and those types of things, but there's some other offerings out there. So it's really, really cool. And I think the thing to focus on is, finding a personal banker that you really relate with and that can help, that understands. Like, one of the nice things is I've been there. I've worked with a lot of CEOs. So I understand the pressure you're under and the difference in what you are seeing and what your standard day looks like and what the pressure of like making payroll and those types of things actually feels like. And so just having that person that you trust, that you can reach out to if you need something, that will get you the best advice. One of the smartest things I will say that JP Morgan did, and like from my opinion, is JP Morgan hired some very good attorneys that were practicing in market, and they brought them in as wealth advisors. And so we don't write your docs, but we review your docs. We give advice. So you're getting this very good advice to help make sure that you're really set up for your future. So if you need to put in trust, if you need to do those types of things, we can help advise that. So it's really that all-encompassing platform that we can put around you and help you build out.
What are some mistakes you see people make that could easily be avoided?
Well, one I would say for sure is, I don't want to use a term that everyone doesn't know, but QSBS. So if you're a qualified small business, there are tax incentives in how you are, and in your initial 10 million or 10 times the initial value, where you can actually take those earnings tax free. If you do not plan for them, if you do not put what you need to in place, then that is no longer an option. So it's making sure that you do that before the exit. That's the biggest piece of advice I can say, is talk to people who know what they're doing 2 to 3 years before you're exiting. And I know those exits can come out of nowhere. If you have done no planning and you have an acquisition that comes to the door, please call people and get help, because there's plenty of good talent out here that can help you through that. And even if we have a month's notice, that's better than no notice. And so just helping getting those in place. But if you have a family, whether you're CEO, founder, get proper life insurance. Like, that's definitely something that we can help you do. A lot of people don't do. On the planning side, if you have a significant amount of private wealth, really do think about trusts and how you can transfer that wealth to your family members, and make sure that they're set up for the future, no matter what happens to you. So I think it's really about making sure that proper planning is in place prior to. So don't wait till the last second, and you don't have to overplan too early either. So, most acquisitions are after you've had some sort of growth and plan. So it's not a rush, but don't put it off until it's been too long.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. What's it like being someone in finance working for JP Morgan, given its history? I mean, I'm sure you've read the history of JP Morgan, and JP Morgan himself was incredible, maybe the most powerful guy in the world when he was walking around in New York. What is that like? I mean, JP Morgan is as American as it gets.
It really is. I mean, yeah. So what I would say is it is an incredible institution with incredible employees. And it really is. You can get the information that you have access to as a JP Morgan employee is incredible. So it's not just the history. It's an encyclopedia of information. If you want information on anything financial, you can get it, and you can get it from the top minds who are focused on this all day, every day, right? So if you are looking into how you want to structure your portfolio, we have people who are focused on that all day, who are invested alongside you, who are really trying to bring their best every day. And I think it's incredible when you look at the history and how important all banks have been, to America, but just the history of watching JP Morgan grow as it's grown, it's awesome. It's incredible to just be part of such a larger institution that is so integral, to the American economy.
Oh, it's vital.
Yeah.
Right? It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
That part must be fascinating. Yeah, to work for such a historic thing. It's crazy. I mean, I've read a couple books on JP Morgan, and the guy sounds wild.
Yeah.
Just like totally like runs the world. It was wild. Those were wild times.
They were much different times. Banking is much different than it was. Regulations have definitely changed. But no, he did incredible things. And
He like bailed out the government.
oh, yeah. I mean, and truthfully, at the end of the day, banks are capital allocators, right? Banks are going to determine where capital goes. And truthfully, he did a phenomenal job of making some choices. And, we see that today in an institution that has survived as long as it has. It's been in Utah now for 100 years, which is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
What is it? What's your sense on the current economic environment and how it might look into the new year and how things are looking? Because we've been hearing for so long, like, hey, recession's coming. And you're seeing some signs of that, right? With like inflation and things like that. But it hasn't come. It doesn't seem like, because employment's still up. There's all these like weird factors. Like, how do you judge this economy? How do you look at it?
Yeah. So I think it's a complicated situation because we've seen things that are a little bit different than what we've seen in the past. Like, if you look at even just fixed income, it hasn't performed as expected. Typically, it performs opposite to equities, and it really hasn't. So there's weird things happening because unemployment is still very low.
Which is wild.
But then if you look at certain industries, it is starting to have an impact. So I think what's interesting about what we're currently facing, and I'll talk about Utah specifically, like we've seen a lot of layoffs in the tech industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you hear about those, you see those, and it's, it feels like, oh, this is heavy. There's a lot here. And there is. But there's still a lot of promise, and I think that's what we should be focused on as far as getting through that. But I think it's a softer landing, which is what most people have been thinking. I think that sometimes you're kind of in that recession without really being in that recession because it hasn't impacted you, like your direct experience. So I think we're still determining kind of what this will ultimately look like. I think most people have landed on the softer landing as opposed to, what could come. But I think it's one of those things where it's like nobody knows exactly what's going to happen. And I think it's focusing on, what you can control and being smart about that. And so that is another reason to like reach out to experts. And make sure that you're setting yourself up for if it is tougher times or if it is, if it's better, that you're setting yourself up to be able to handle those times.
What do you think, like future of Utah 10 years from now, what do you think it looks like?
Oh, I love this ecosystem. Like, I can't imagine being anywhere else. I think if you look like truthfully per capita, nowhere has more promise. I think we have these, really amazing companies too that are very young. And we've had some incredible exits and we're still seeing the benefits of those exits, right? Those founders are investing in Utah. That's one of the things that is unique about Utah. I don't know if people know this. In other places, when founders make a bunch of money, they don't necessarily reinvest in their state. Mm-hmm. In Utah, we have founders who are absolutely reinvesting in the state.
They're obsessed with it.
They're obsessed. Yeah. And they want to see Utah grow and they want to see Utah to continue. So I truthfully think, look, we are a smaller market we are a small market. We have less headcount, et cetera.
We're better than Colorado. Are we?
Way cooler.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Cool.
Depends how you're looking at it.
I like that answer.
Yeah. Way cooler. But I truthfully see, like, if you're looking at actual success of the companies, if you're looking at exits, if you're looking at the future, I don't think there's a better place per capita. I really don't. Like, yeah. I've seen a lot of markets, and you look around here, we've got really special entrepreneurs. We've got really smart people, and like there is something to just that drive that we have here that is
very
different.
Entrepreneurial.
Very entrepreneurial. And it's a risk. Being an entrepreneur is not like something for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
And so we've got some real believers that have really made it.
What do you think happens in Silicon Valley? Same question. Like it's because it's kind of gone through,
Yeah.
A lot of rough times.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. It's tough because it's like you're at a point where your younger employees, it's hard to live there. It's expensive.
Yeah.
They're paying, significantly more taxes. A lot of the companies, when you're looking at tech, have gone, remote to some extent. And so a lot of people have moved.
Mm-hmm.
And as there is more come back to the office, and, I think now people have kind of settled on where they're at, but it's like, I don't see a lot of people going back.
Yeah.
Now, do I think they still have, phenomenal companies that will come out of that and spin out of other places?
Sure.
Absolutely. But I think we'll continue to see those companies move.
Yeah. And I think Utah is on like this short list of places that they move. It's like Utah, Austin, Miami, maybe New York. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I think we'll continue to see the benefits of companies moving out of.
Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's such an honor to have you on the show.
Yeah.
You're a Utah tech legend. Seriously, you've been since 2006.
Yeah.
A part of all of this growth. I mean, the state is completely different from then to now, and a lot of it is thanks to your effort and people like you. So thank you so much.
Well, no, thank you for having me. I mean, look, as I said, I do love this ecosystem. I love what we have here. And I just want to continue to see it grow, and I want to be supportive of that growth. And if I can help people get there, I want to do it.
We're lucky to have you. We're lucky to have you in Utah. Thank you so much.